First, though, the Secretary of State for Local Government has been in Belfast today for a major gathering of council bigwigs from across the UK, and Hazel Blears is with me now. You're very welcome to Hearts and Minds.
Thank you.
Must have been a fraught afternoon. The councils we've discovered are hundreds of millions of pounds in hocked Icelandic banks, and you're not going to bail them out. Why not? You've bailed everyone else out.
Well, today we've had actually an extremely good meeting with the Local Government Association, and I've also had a chance to talk to local authority chief executives here in Belfast. And the situation at the moment isn't entirely clear. We don't know the full extent of the exposure of local authorities. We've
At least 725 million, we are told.
And a large number of authorities involved. Now, what we've agreed to do is to meet again next week. What we have said is that we will certainly not be letting councils twist in the wind. We will be standing with them. But clearly they're in a different position than individual depositors. They're fairly informed investors. A lot of councils don't put all their eggs in one basket. They spread their investments across a series of institutions. So what we've got to look at is each council's individual position, and we've said that we will look at it on a case-by-case basis. For example, if you're a small authority and you've got big exposure, that's more worrying than if you're a very big authority with a small exposure.
You can't pick and choose, can you? You can't back one and not back another.
Well, this isn't a question of backing...
guaranteeing, making sure they get their money back.
We've got a range of tools that we can help with and support. It could be restructuring their finances. Some people will have long-term investments which weren't due to mature anyway. Some people might have some fairly short-term investments where they need a bit of extra help. And I think that the taxpayers, quite rightly, would want us to look at this case by case, see where we need to help, but we will be standing with those local authorities.
In general, it's going to be a bad time for public spending, isn't it? I mean, there must be a lot of belt tightening ahead because all these hundreds of billions of pounds have got to come from somewhere.
Well, I think we are in a completely new situation, and what we've got to say is, what are the priorities now? The priorities have to be keeping people in their homes, making sure that, as far as possible, we help people with regard to mortgage repossession, trying to ensure that the local economy continues to be stable, and make sure we keep people in jobs. So I think the whole of government now, we've got this National Economic Council, which has met twice this week at 10 Downing Street. I'm making sure that the local and regional view is absolutely part of that. The whole government is committed now to saying we will do what it takes to take people through this time.
As a dyed-in-the-wool Salford Labour woman who wears her working-class credentials very warmly and openly on your sleeve, how do you feel about giving all this money to save the skins of fat cat financial people?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, this isn't about bailing out people who've taken irresponsible risks with our economy. What it's about is saying that those decent, hard-working people who do struggle, who don't have a lot of money, who are having to tighten their belts, let's see if we can help them, certainly with regards to staying in their homes. Right? The last thing I want to see is people being repossessed and then in difficulty, and let's see if we can support that local economy. Because
but you do that by saving the fat cats.
Well, no,
because that's the only way to do it.
What you do is you do it by getting stability back into the banking system. The package yesterday should ensure that you can get credit back into the system. The banks have got to be doing the job that they're supposed to do, which is lending money, but making sure we help householders and small businesses is absolutely the top priority.
Some of the left-wingers in the party are saying that it should go further. There should be really a renationalisation of the banks. Do you think that's something that lies ahead, so that you have a closer control over how they operate?
Well, I don't think the public are particularly interested in the kind of ideology around this. What they want is practical action. And when we've said that we're going to take shares in banks, that's because we want to make sure that the taxpayers' money is properly secured.
Non-voting shares, though.
Well, we've also said that there will be conditions around the way in which banks are able to access the new facility that's available to them, because, again, we want to make sure that we're not rewarding profiteering and irresponsible risk-taking. We've had enough of that. We need to make sure that what we reward in the financial system is hard work, enterprise and risk-taking, because that's how you get business going, but responsible risk-taking.
There's been an unusual degree of cross-party harmony in all of this, but there will be a day of political reckoning. This crisis has happened on your party's watch, your government's watch. Do you think the public will forgive you that when the next election rolls around?
I think the public understand absolutely fine well that this is a global phenomenon that we're part of. You don't get banks in Iceland and France and Spain and Italy and Australia right across the world having the same difficulties if the problems are made.
Yes, but along with all these other
at home.
governments, you're sat by and watched it all happen.
Well, we've not been in a position of sitting by and watching it happen. What we've had is banks, in some cases, not all of them, but in some cases, acting irresponsibly in terms of the risk-taking that they indulged in.
No one tried to call a halt to it while it was going on until the crisis happened. I think irresponsible government, isn't it?
I think what you'll find is that our government was seeking to have better international regulation for quite some time, but I think what you'll also find is that there hasn't been transparency about what the banks were doing, and as we've found out about it, we've taken decisive, bold, and I think some people described yesterday's package as breathtaking, and I think it's exactly what the public expected to see.